All right, it is gifted knockout artist Jordan Leavitt. I mean, obviously, one of the heavy hitters in the division. I mean, talk to me, Jordan. Are you walking around with your chest pumped out a little bit after getting a big KO like that?
Yeah, testosterone Levitt. That's what the internet is saying. Feeling quite manly. I'm now a grappling specialist, but half my UFC wins are by knockout. So not too shabby for a guy that came into the UFC with no knockouts.
I love that. Well, it's funny, right? Because when we think about you, of course, we think about the grappling game that you have. But I mean, this was incredible work in the clinch. So, I mean, going into this fight, did you think like, hey, there is an opportunity here. Let's try things out here. Or was this just like crazy flow of the moment? I mean, how did this all play out?
Um, I knew I'd have the advantage in the clinch, but I thought since his boxing was he's pretty clean boxer, has good footwork, circles the right direction. So I wasn't quite sure I'd be able to force the clinch and be very dominant and offensive from that position. He did pretty good at defend. He defended the first shot pretty perfectly, and I think the old me from about a year ago might have panicked a little bit then, but I knew after feeling his strength that if I got to the clinch again, I could secure some damage, and that's what happened. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's what was most impressive about it, right? Was I thought, I mean, it's not like it was just one shot. I mean, you're throwing elbows, you're throwing knees, you're going to the bodies, you're going to various levels. So, I mean, I guess like has that been a primary focus of yours, like in training, is getting ready for positions like that?
yeah, surprisingly, I spend most of my training hours not grappling, but striking and clinch striking. But then when you fight, the pressure's on, so you go to what feels most comfortable. So the past few fights, even though I have put way less hours into my grappling, that's still where I've gone. But this is the first fight where I really felt like I was pressing my advantages on the feet, and I was pressuring and I was throwing good volume, and it felt like I was sparring. So I'm finally glad that the drilling's finally becoming second nature. I don't have to think so much.
I love it. Has that been challenging for you, or has that been like what you've wanted to do? Because I think for a lot of people, it's easy to go into the room and do what you're best at, right? Because you're comfortable there, it's easy, you feel good, you don't feel like you're awkward or doing things wrong or whatever. So, has it been a challenge for you to focus on those things that maybe weren't your primary strength, or is that kind of easy for you in what you want to do?
It's what I want to do. So I've been wanting to strike more in my fight career, but I got to the UFC with only 7 fights. I'd only been pro for like 2.5 years, something like that. So I didn't really have a lot of experience. I was really wet behind the ears. So I went from making no money, you know, living in a very poor like lifestyle to getting my UFC contract. Now there was all this pressure, like, oh, if I win, my wife doesn't have to work. We could have the baby. We're all stable. And I got a bonus my first fight, and like getting that much money after being really poor was very like jolting. And I think it kind of scared me in the next few fights. I was like, okay, like money's really a big deal now, as opposed to beforehand, like I was just doing it for like the love of it. So it's been a little bit of like a mental roller coaster for me trying to figure out how to, get my mind ready for fight day. And I think I finally got the formula down.
That's awesome. So where do you stand now? Are you doing this because I mean you got another bonus? So I mean, are you doing this because you're chasing that paper, or are you doing this because it's just what you love to do?
I love to do, but I also love not being poor. So it works out pretty damn good.
I hear that. All right. So talk to me about the plans for this bonus. Is it just to help pay for that new house and help pay for that new car? Or do you go spoil yourself at all and buy any toys or anything? What's the plans for it?
I think I'm gonna buy a fancy little metal crown. We're looking at it. That's the kind of my bougie thing. Little gift to myself, and then I'm gonna pay off my car. I bought a car like 20 days ago, and now I could pay it off. So that's gonna be kind of a cool moment. I'm gonna pay for it in cash. That'll be an exciting day. So
All right, no, promise me you'll actually pay for it in cash. Like, not you're gonna write a check, which technically qualifies as paying for it in cash. Like, will you go get like stacks of $1 bills and just hand it all over that way?
well, $1 bills will take a bit, but I'm paying in cash. That's been like a bucket list thing. I was like, my next big purchase, I would love to buy something in all cash. And I'm finally going to do it. So very happy about that. That's a little check off the bucket list for sure.
I love it, man. That's awesome. All right, I got to ask you because I wasn't there. I was in the arena, of course. I was in the Apex, but I didn't get to go back to the back of the house. But I saw this suit that you were rocking in there post fight. I mean, style. I mean, the drip was there. I guess. Talk to me about the inspiration between for the suit that you had on.
Well, my grandpa was a G, and he was always a really big supporter of me and my career and like my interests. Like he was one of the few people outside my parents who would come to my wrestling matches and had the free time and and actually really care about that avenue of my life. So when he passed away, like right before I got to the UFC, it was a little bit like heart wrenching for me because I was like one of my main supporters as I like went on this journey. But then when I was in the Patty camp, I was like, oh, I want to wear my grandpa's suit. Like I'm big enough for it now because I was at 45 with a little loose on me. And I was like, it'll fit perfectly. But then I lost. But I was cutting weight last week, and I was like, picking up my clothes, I saw it hanging up, and I was like, it's not too late. I still fit that suit. And I won the fight. Got to go and get into my grandpa's old like vintage suit in mint condition. Basically, it was a nice moment.
I love it, man. That makes it even better. It's better than just style when you hear the story behind it. You touched on the Patty thing. I've seen you kind of embrace it. I mean, you've mentioned it, right? Like, I got teabagged and blah blah blah. I don't know. It's like you make jokes about it, and I think that's the way to deal with it, right? That's all you can do. Like losses suck and all that, but but has it weighed heavy on you? I mean, I see you kind of embracing it and joking about it on social media, but I mean, was that a difficult result to move past?
For sure. It was embarrassing. Some of the Patty fans like trolling me for several months was a little annoying. It takes a little like every little bit of mental energy kind of like adds up. And I've always been a person that can make like a laugh at myself, laugh at my misfortunes, because life a lot of the times is absurd and silly. Would I, is getting torqued on better than getting slept and injured 100%? I mean, it wasn't the worst thing that could have happened fight night, but it wasn't good. It wasn't anything I wanted to happen, So yeah, just run with it. This life, this sport has a lot of highs and lows, but this is my dream. So even the worst times in this sport is better than my time before this sport. And I'm still happy. And it's still, there's one step on the hero's journey. There's ups and downs, but I think it generally is going to trend upward. So I just try to embrace all of it and make peace with all of it.
I love it, man. That's such a great way to look at it. This sport is so unique, right? I mean, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It's a cliche. I mean, I think people have said it so often that you don't even really think about what it means. But I mean, it is such an emotional journey, right? I mean, every time out there, it's I don't know. I love this sport, and at the same time, I hate this sport sometimes. I feel like it's the most heart-wrenching thing for you guys to go through.
Yeah, it's just such a personal, raw, primal thing that we do. You walk into a cage and like your friends and family are all watching. You don't have any weapons. You beat the crap out of each other. 3 people, you're ringside, trying to get to decide who wins or who loses. Like the emperor holding up his thumb, deciding thumbs up or thumbs down. Like it's crazy. It's really stupid when you break it down. And I'm just so glad that I get to like live my life being a ninja, being a warrior. It's kind of weird. Not what I thought I'd be when I was a kid, but I always dreamed I'd be that. So
that's awesome, man. I'm sure everybody knew you were going to be a badass cage fighter from day one, right?
When I was the same height, but like 98-pound vegetarian who like would sit alone in the hallway at lunch, I didn't think I'd be a ninja ever, But eventually I grew into this person I am now. And I think it's very interesting when people see me from high school and they're like, oh, you're still the same person. And I was like, why did no one tell me I was a cool little bad A person,
That's awesome, man. That's so great. All right, so listen, obviously this is a big result for you. And I know you were mentioning on social media, a lot of changes that you had to do a lot, I guess I want to ask you, I mean, obviously the result was crazy. We didn't expect you to get a knockout in the clinch, but I guess what were the chief changes that you think you made, in the preparation for this that really ended up paying off for you?
I've always done like follow all the rules. Like I go to team practice, I go to jiu-jitsu, but there's like a state of like diminishing returns where you go to jiu-jitsu class, but maybe you're learning moves that don't really apply to your fight game. Or you go to a certain practice and you're learning things that's never going to, apply for your specific style, for your specific camp. So for this camp, I really, put a lot of money forward, was paying for private lessons with coaches, doing very deliberate drilling, doing game plan stuff for like 12 weeks for the entirety of the camp, as opposed to like a few sessions on fight week. So really just kind of focusing on what I needed to do and surrounding myself with people that wanted to see me succeed and trying to like avoid like drama, sparring with people I don't want to spar with, and kind of like minimizing like my circle, not being open to so many people, not doing as many interviews, not doing as many anything, really just trying to, have more quality in my life, in training and in my personal life, as opposed to quantity. And I definitely felt way more, like I'm usually pretty confident. Like I have anxieties, but I wouldn't accept the fights if I didn't think I could win. But I felt ready for this fight for like 7 weeks. And it was the first time where I wasn't thinking in my head, like, well, I could grind this one out. Like I could figure out a way. And it was like, no, I am going to find out a way. It wasn't like a question of if in my head. It was a question of how I'm going to do it. And yeah, I was just glad to have a lot of people around me that like just gave me a little bit more love and a little bit more attention. And it worked out.
That's awesome, man. That's great insight. And that's probably the one that a lot of athletes need to understand. So I think that's great advice there. So listen, great win, great financial reward. It seems like mentally, it just seems like everything's going right for you right now. So I guess the big question is, what's next? I mean, do you take a little time off and enjoy it and focus on the life you have outside of the cage? Or is it like, let's book something again as quickly as we can and keep this momentum rolling? Like what's the next move for you?
Oh, I want to stay busy. I want to stay busy. I want to fight in the T-Mobile. I want to have a crowd that doesn't, that loves me, doesn't hate me. I don't want to have like 12 people. Like everyone at the Apex, I knew everyone in the crowd, but it was only like 18 people. So I would love for my family, my wife, to be able to come and see me fight for the first time in a long time. And I just got to stay ready because this sport is crazy. Fights are, as we can see from this past event, even the most important fight in the card can fall off. So I just got to stay ready and stay prepared, and good things will happen.
I love it. So would you take, with you saying that, because it's interesting because you talked about your preparation and how, detailed it was and how confident it made you, but you're saying stay ready. So are you up for like short notice opportunities? I mean, you say you want to fight at T-Mobile. I think they might be there on Saturday. I mean, you're like, hey, let's call your boy if you got a spot open.
Yeah, 1000%. Like I want the preparation, but I look at the matchups around my ranking and I'm very confident. I always am watching film every day. So yeah, I'm ready if I have to be. And, I got a little money. I think I want a little more.
I love it. Well, Jordan, I appreciate you taking a few minutes. Congratulations. Showing new wrinkles to the game, which I think is awesome. So now people can't just say, hey, I just got to stay away from the grappling. I'm going to be safe. So, man, a fantastic performance and continued financial successes and personal successes as well. And we look forward to seeing what's next.
All right. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.